at some point of time, your business was on the brink of bankruptcy. You fired half of your team, stopped so many things, and lost your biggest client and business partner as well. And I can say it was a big issue, big blunder. So, how did you manage to push yourself in this particular situation?
I felt handicapped because I didn't dare to be there myself. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially startup entrepreneurs, they look for partners not because they objectively need partners, but because it's so scary. There was this meme on internet with two diggers going for the diamonds, and one of them is turning back and the other one keeps going, and it's so obvious. You have to keep going. If you focus on the process, if you believe in what you do, the diamonds are going to happen. We couldn't afford anything, literally. I was traveling with my parents. We couldn't afford a hotel room. I remember the first night in Germany, we arrived in Berlin. We slept in a car in a parking lot because hotel room prices were just astronomical for us.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Warrior Show. This is where we interview entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants who are expert in their niche, and this is hosted by me, Nilesh, Jain. So in this amazing series of interview, today we have a super duper awesome guest with us. She is the co-founder of Mindvalley. This is something a biggest guest on our show we have. So she is the co-founder of Mindvalley. Mindvalley is the company, the world's most powerful life transformation platform with an ever-growing 20 million strong following. Kristina is an entrepreneur, writer, speaker, mother, philanthropist, everyday life philosopher, and a woman on her own journey of spiritual growth. Kristina hosts her own podcast, Honest Conversion, and has interviewed over 200 specialists in the field of psychology and self-development, which is crazy. And guys, if you also want to launch your interview show and wants to build a network with this level of people, you can just drop an interview in the comment section, or you can directly reach out to me if you are ready to launch your interview show. Kristina, with over 17 years in the personal transformation industry, Kristina is a truly remarkable teacher, talented international speaker, entrepreneur, artist, philanthropist, and mother of 2 kids. Without further ado, let's have Kristina Mand Lakhani, and I'm really blessed for this particular interview show. Kristina, in one of your interview, you mentioned that earlier you were focusing a lot on being a perfectionist, but after some time, you realized that it was just a trap. How did you come up with this realization?
So I'll answer the question, but first I have to absolutely compliment you on being able to pronounce my name perfectly without even asking how to pronounce it, because 9 out of 10 times people mispronounce my name. So thank you for that. It's really a rare occasion. As for perfectionism, perfectionism is definitely my quality, which I have to live with, and it's an interesting one because a few years ago, I heard this interesting saying that I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I was so enamored by that idea. So I started calling myself recovering perfectionist until I realized that you can't recover from being yourself. So there are things about our character which we can change, especially when we're talking about certain habits which are not healthy. For example, or not healthy, like just not good habits. For example, if you've ever rewatched your recordings, sometimes you notice that you do things, you say things, or you do things which are, maybe you're so used to that you don't even notice, but on recording you see it, and it's fine. You can change certain things about you. Yet there are qualities which are so essential and which are so core of your being that you really can't eradicate them. So in my case, perfectionism is definitely one of those things which will always be part of me, but the question isn't really how to recover from it or how to eradicate it out of my being. The question is, if I have it, can I learn to live with it, and can I learn to maximize it and to find strength in it? But here I have to say a little disclaimer. Perfectionism is an easy one, because it's something that people very often even feel proud. When people ask us, so what's your biggest flaw? Saying, oh, it's perfectionism is an easy one. It's not like saying, oh, I'm lazy or I'm vain. These are much more complicated.
Definitely it is, and you did a great answer. Like change your questions in a proper way, and then you are going to get the answer. Definitely. You just mentioned be yourself. Nowadays, people act like others. They don't want to be themselves. And how do they avoid this and present themselves as they are?
Well, I would say there are two extremes. On one side, there are a lot of people who do emulate others, and then on the other side, there are people who it's another extreme where people who insist that they're themselves, but in reality they're just unfiltered or unconcerned with other people's experiences. So both extremes are not healthy. So since you asked about the extreme about people who want to be like others, this is actually in our nature. That's how we learn. When a child is born, the child is a blank slate. So, how does the child learn about the world? We emulate. I think it's called social contagion in science. This kind of behavior, and it is very characteristic of humans. So, a very simple example: you go to a refined restaurant, let's say French cuisine, fine dining, which is complicated because French cuisine is not so much about the food as it is about the ceremony around it. So you would sit down at the table and you have 5 forks, 5 knives, a spoon, and an odd, weird instrument that you don't understand. So what a normal person would do in this kind of circumstances, they would look around and see how other people are using their utensils and then just copy it, right? Because that's how humans learn to fit in, to be accepted by the society, not to stand out, not to be strange. And I don't think it's such a bad quality. Uh, in science, if you completely disregard other people's experiences and you behave the way you like, in a way like a child without any filters, then it's called, I actually don't remember the scientific term, but layman's term would be psychopathic behavior. And none of us would want to be a psychopath. I think it's called something like social disorder. I don't remember the actual name. But the point is that it's okay to want to fit in. What's not okay is when you forget what you are behind those masks and layers of decorum and civility. If you forget what your values are, if you start compromising your truth, your values for the sake of fitting in, that's not okay. So I guess you should ask yourself, who am I truly? And try to learn to be honest with yourself. And once you know the truth, it will be much harder to compromise that truth to the world.
Really love this, and follow your own value and be honest to yourself. You are lied to the world, but you are not lied to yourself. This is something that you have to focus. I really love
That's,
this point.
it's very interesting. We talked about honesty on one of my early interviews, and I split honesty into two vectors. There's honesty with the world, which I call the outside honesty, and there's honesty with the self. And while when we talk about honesty, we usually focus on the outside honesty, and we're actually very uptight about that as a society. But we don't talk about honesty with yourself when it comes to being true to yourself, being authentic, being yourself. It starts with understanding who you are. And you cannot be authentic or true to yourself if you don't know who you are. And you can't know who you are unless you learn to be honest with yourself. And it's the hardest thing, and we don't even realize very often that we are not, mostly. If you know how the brain works, you would know how much it tricks us.
Yes, so true. Definitely, it is something that is everybody have to know, right? Great point. At some point of time, your business was on the brink of bankruptcy. You fired half of your team, stopped so many things, and lost your biggest client and business partner as well. And I can say it was a big issue, big blunder. So, how did you manage to push yourself in this particular situation?
So I have to give a disclaimer. That happened to, yes, it happened to the branch of business that was working in Russian language market, because Mindvalley has never been on the point of
Yes,
bankrupt.
normally is.
Yeah, just for you to understand. Of course, we've had our hurdles as well, of course, and we've reinvented ourselves. But that had to do with the Russian language business and with the situation in Ukraine. And I have to say that happened. The instance that you refer to was in 2014, when Russia just started its aggression in Ukraine and took Crimea. We lost 70% of our market temporarily, and we lost our biggest client, and I lost my business partner. And I was in business a little bit I felt handicapped because I didn't dare to be there myself. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially startup entrepreneurs, they look for partners not because they objectively need partners, but because it's so scary. So you feel a little more confident having someone else by your side, someone to, to share the responsibility with. And yes, I had to fire half of the team at that time. But I have to tell you, um, Russia actually restarted the war in February 2022. And it was even worse. It was on a much bigger scale. And my team had to survive the same experience again. And they did. In November, the revenues came back to what they were before the war, and we still don't work in Russian market because it's still politically a very questionable situation. So it is interesting. It is interesting how some businesses survive in extreme crisis, and it is extreme. And I have to say that for most people in the Western Hemisphere, they will never have to face anything like that unless they specifically work in a very volatile market like it is Russian market. So for most of us, economic crises are never as extreme as a war between two of your biggest markets. And it's interesting how businesses survive. So my takeaway from that experience in 2014 was that I believed in what I was doing. And that was what carried me through, because sometimes when you're in a long, dark tunnel and you don't know if this tunnel is ending, if you're being, there was this meme on internet with two diggers going for the diamonds, and one of them is turning back and the other one keeps going. And it's so obvious. You have to keep going, but it's obvious if you see it in the cross section. If you're in the tunnel, you don't know if you're being persistent or if you're being a pig-headed idiot. You don't know, because this is also a scenario, and we never talk about that. You might be going all your life in the wrong direction. It is a possible scenario. So when I was in that long, deep tunnel and I didn't know, should I keep on going or not? And at some point I had to put my money again in the business. I mean, you can imagine you're in business for 5 years, you do well, you do your first million, and then you get back to the regime when you're investing in your own business so that you don't have to fire the rest of your team. So what carried me through was just the knowledge that what I do is necessary, that people need it, and I'll keep doing it even if I don't succeed in the end. It's like, the Buddhists say, don't wash the dishes for the dishes to be clean, wash them for the process of washing dishes. So once you're in the business for the process of doing what you do, the pile of diamonds in the end stop being meaningful. The tunnel becomes meaningful.
I really love this point, and this is something that like just focus towards process and show up. Doesn't matter whether you are getting results, success, failure. Just show up. Consistency, persistency is something that bring you a lot of result and going to change your business. Right?
Of course, you might say I'm just privileged to have had a big success in in some of my businesses, but I do strongly believe, because even the example of my Russian business, which survived yet another war, literally one was 2014, the other one 2022, and came back to stronger than it was before, just shows that if you focus on the process, if you believe in what you do, the diamonds are going to happen.
Insane. Definitely, the diamonds are going to happen. And what is the thing that you like to teach your kids related to money, mindset, relationship, anything? What is the thing you like to teach your kids?
God, I think I am clueless. We learn together. It's a very interesting experience because, you see, I was born in Soviet Union, so money was a very bizarre concept in my life, and I actually was brought up in Soviet Union. And I remember as a child, I believed in this. The way we understood communism there is very different from the rest of the world. We thought that communism was that time where everything will be provided by the state, and money wouldn't exist because it wouldn't be necessary. So if you need anything, you go and you take it. It's a very strange utopian thing, which never happened and probably can never happen. So my journey to understanding money happened in my conscious grown-up years, and I went from, my first trip to Germany. It was right after Soviet Union collapsed. We couldn't afford anything. Literally, I was traveling with my parents. We couldn't afford a hotel room. I remember the first night in Germany, we arrived in Berlin. We slept in a car in a parking lot because hotel room prices were just just astronomical for us from Soviet Union. That doesn't mean I wasn't poor, I wasn't impoverished in the former Soviet Union. I mean, it wasn't Soviet Union at that time. We lived in houses and ate food and wore clothes, and it was fine. But just the money that we earned was nothing in the Western world. And now I'm and now I'm considering of buying. I mean, I don't want to go into that, but I just built a house and and all those things. I mean, money is not a question anymore. So it's an interesting journey. My kids don't have that journey. They have a different journey. They have a journey where they can afford anything. They can buy anything they like, and they never have to make decisions based on whether they can afford it or not. So it is a different set of challenges. What I want them to learn is that money has value no matter how much you have it. No matter how easy it comes, it has value and meaning. And you have to treat it with respect. You have to see the blessings that you have. And so far, I'm at peace. But I also know that they will be solving completely different problems from mine when they grow up.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Money has a value, and no matter in which form you are see it, but you have to respect it because it is combined, like it is double, right? I really love this, and the things that you do, when you focus that one thing in your childhood, you face that one thing. I think that is one thing make you very strong in your journey, and that's the reason when something bad happened with you in the past, you are overcome from this particular situation. And you are also coming up with the one book which is called Becoming Flowsome. Can you share a little bit about it?
So this book is about finding your path back to you. And that's literally the most important thing. Of course, it's very simplistic to say that it's just about self-worth and self-love and self-acceptance, because this journey obviously will involve a lot of other aspects. So I talk about success and happiness in this book, about the myth of hustling and how we miss the mark, how we very often end up going full speed ahead in the wrong direction without realizing that. It's about perfectionism and getting over it. It is about honesty, kindness, and courage. And along the way, I also have to give some very practical instruments about dealing with emotions, because it's so funny, contemporary humans are pretty dumb when it comes to emotional intelligence. Not just intelligence, we might feel the emotions, but we don't know how to live with them. So I give some instruments how to deal with very unpleasant emotions, which are going to come up along the way. And then the last part of the book is incredibly philosophical, because in my heart, I'm a philosopher. But I think it's a very practical book, and I love my book baby.
Amazing, amazing. I'm really excited to grab this one book and really super excited for this particular launch. So here's the link, and I'm also going to drop this link in the description. You can check it out and pre-book yourself. You can also pre-book, right, on this link.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Depending on the interviews coming out, I believe it's going to be either right before the launch or right after the launch. At any
Okay.
case, in that link, you can buy the book. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. So I'll drop this link. And before we wrap up the show, can you share like what stops people to play big into their journey in this business?
Judgment.
Yeah.
Their own
Okay.
judgment. We live in the society that believes that success has to come through a lot of sacrifice and hard work, and because of that, we not just that. I mean, it's a little too long a discussion to start like this, but I would say that if you learn to be kind to yourself, and if you remember that even if you fail, you still deserve your own love and admiration and support, then that opens up the doors to be truly courageous. It's like with the children, when the child learns to walk, if the child falls down, the parent doesn't say, shame on you, look at your peers, they're already running, they're already climbing the trees, what's wrong with you? But that's how we talk to ourselves. What's wrong with you? You've had this business for 5 years, why haven't you made your first million yet? So that judgment, that overall paradigm that you have to punish yourself into success, it's really doing a disservice, because it makes us scared. scared of failing, scared of falling, scared of making mistakes. And that's why I'm saying kindness to yourself is the best thing you can do to yourself. Because if you're kind to yourself, if you're like that parent, like, never mind, you fell down, get up, let's do another step together. I still love you, no matter how many times you fall. That makes you truly brave and courageous, and that's what gives you the power to go out in the world and challenge yourself truly, because you know that no matter what happens, you still deserve your love and respect.
I really love this point, and this is something that is a mind blowing and mind opening. You have to be love yourself, be kind to yourself, and that's what people need to care. Focus instead of just comparing themselves to somebody else and comparing their chapter first to chapter 10, somebody else chapter. Right?
That's true. But as I said, it's a very long,
Yes.
discussion. I usually do a 1 hour long lecture on that because
Wow.
it's like superficially, it might sound very counterintuitive, but there are two paths to success: a path through punishment and a path through encouragement. And I strongly recommend taking the path through encouragement. It's so much more empowering.
Thank you so much, Kristina, for hopping on this particular interview and sharing a lot of values on this show. Really glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So I hope you learned so many things from this interview. I hope you learned so many things from Christina, and I hope you got bulb on ideas. She talk about the being perfectionist is the dream killer, right? So don't be a perfectionist. Go and do implement the stuff whatever you learned from this interview, and share your love and biggest takeaway from this video, whatever you learned from this interview. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel. And one thing is, if you are ready to launch your interview show and you are not sure what to do, how to do, and when to do, you can reach out to me. I'm just one message away and ready to launch your interview show. So you can also build your network and connection with high profile people. Till then, Nilesh signing off. Have a great day.